Good morning and welcome to looking at HubSpot as an option for, I guess, nurturing and building your lists and working with your lists of customers. And right down to task management, we'll take a look under the hood and see how all this looks, and look inside my HubSpot too, to see not just only how HubSpot can be used and how you're likely to use it, but also how I'm using it in my business as well. I think that'll be helpful to give a little bit of a context of how you might be able to use it yourself. Now, be aware that some of my setup may not be the same as yours. I use a Mac. I use Gmail for my email. You might be using Outlook or one of those systems. Doesn't matter. It does integrate with Outlook, Gmail, and to a lesser degree, Apple Mail as well. So there's some options in there that I'll explain as we go along. There's a lot of information in this one, so I do apologize if it's a little bit full of information, but I think you should be able to carry along. Now, if you do get a chance and you have a question you had to pop up, just like Shannon's put good morning into the chat window, feel free to put your questions in there or in the Q&A section as well. Ask some stuff along the way and you shall. To answer another question we've got, will there be a recording? Absolutely. I'll explain a bit more about that in a couple of slides time so you'll understand where you can get those recordings and where they'll come from. I know that I use recordings a lot when it comes to different webinars that I go to, so it's always handy to have them. Screen is now shared. I'm hoping you can see that loud and clear. It seems to be coming through okay. So what I'll do now is let's get underway. First off, starting with a quote from Laura Ingalls Wilder, the author of the Little House on the Prairie book series, of which, of course, Michael Landon and the Little House on the Prairie TV series was based off. She said the trouble with organizing a thing is that pretty soon folks get paying more attention to the organization than what they're organized for. She was talking about groups of people being organized for certain things. I'm talking about customer relationship management systems and work management systems where, like some places I've worked before, we get a system in and then this system becomes such a beast that it takes over most of the working that we're going to be doing. So it doesn't actually help us to get the work done. So the whole organization is banding around this system. So what I'm trying to show you in here is how you can spend probably as little time setting up HubSpot as possible just to get on with what it actually is really good at. We'll also talk about some of those things that it's not so good at, or the things that you may have thought it does, but it doesn't. So what we're going to cover today is why in the heck would you even use HubSpot in the first place and what some of the features are that it has. We'll look at the main uses of HubSpot and what those things may be that you might find the things you're more likely to use. We're going to actually look under the hood in my installation of HubSpot and look at how I mostly use it now, but also a little bit about how I use it in the future. And that might be a little bit of a guide for you to go, okay, step by step, we might just do this bit, then we'll add on a little bit of this. That's what I generally advise people do with HubSpot. Don't go in and try to do everything. Just replace one part of your workflow at a time. For me, it was just getting a list of all my contacts. So I had one place, a database for everyone I'm dealing with at the moment. Then I added newsletters. Then I added, the task management and deal management. Then I added, the link through to my Facebook and Google ads. So there's lots of different things it can do, but I suggest you just replace one little thing at a time. Don't just go all in and having to waste 6 weeks just setting up this beast of a system, because it can take a lot of time if you try to do it all at once. This is brought to you by Business Station and the Digital Solutions Program from the Australian Government. It's a really good program. We've got some more information about that afterwards, so you can get a bit of an idea of how you may access even more depth out of this particular program. It'll be available a little bit later on YouTube through the Business Station channel on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, type in Business Station or my name, Dante St. James, and you'll be able to then see this video as well as a whole swag of others. I've got nearly 200 videos of my own. They've probably got about 500 videos on the Business Station one of lots of different things to do with systems, how to run your business, how to set up business, how to diversify your business, how to do business in a pandemic. Oh, look, everything's in there. It's a really good resource and I encourage you to do it. This particular one though will also be sent to you via a link at the end of this. So if you've registered through Eventbrite for this, you should receive the link afterwards. If you don't, that's okay. Pop into YouTube, you'll be able to follow it there. Just look for my name or Business Station on YouTube and this will be available for you to watch. It is being recorded. If you are watching on YouTube right now though, after the fact, so all your Zoom people, ears off, it's now time for the YouTubers. Please do us a favor by subscribing to the channel here and hitting the notification bell just so you know when new stuff stuff comes through. That way you don't miss out on a thing, and we don't do this for no reason at all. A little bit about me, if you haven't met me before, there's a few unfamiliar names in here, so good morning to you. We've got a good number of people in here this morning too, which is great. My business is ClickStarter, which is a digital marketing agency, which I mostly use HubSpot for. Also, DanteStJames.com is my upcoming online courses, but it's also, how you work with me as a coach, how you work with me as a digital mentor of sorts. And then I recently rebirthed an old company called Cellular One, which used to be a mobile phone reseller based in the Gold Coast in Queensland, but now it's all over Australia. I've now bought the name, restarting up as another mobile reseller, and now selling mobile and internet NBN plans. So yeah, if you ever need one, you know where to go. Studied at many different places, but most significantly probably that I've got my certifications across LinkedIn, Facebook, HubSpot, a whole lot of things. So I do a lot of work with Facebook Australia and New Zealand as a trainer for them, as well as a digital marketing associate and planning professional for some of their bigger clients that they call me in for. And in this coming month, in October, heading off around the Northern Territory with October Business Month. So if you're in Nhulunbuy, Tennant Creek, Catherine, Alice Springs, or Darwin, I'll be seeing you at some stage during October. Enough about me though. Get out, go. Why would you use HubSpot? Why would you bother? Why would you go and find this system you don't know anything about and start using it? Well, one of the main reasons, I guess, is to look at what it is that HubSpot doesn't do. It handles your contacts. So it's like your big mail lists and turns them into lists that you can use to market to people or to just maintain a record of people. It'll look at your conversations. They've got these funky little things like these little widgets that go onto your website so you can do live chat with your customers, or you can tie into being able to track your conversations through Facebook Messenger on your Facebook pages. That's amazing that you can do this all in this system. You don't have to keep popping back into Facebook all the time to check there, and then also to check your Instagram, then also to check your website messages. It's one place to get all of it. There's a marketing side of this as well, which is to do with setting up forms that are like your lead generators and your lead magnets, and then things like landing pages, and you can even build your website based upon HubSpot as well. And then there's sales, which is all about managing the process of getting people in as leads and working them through a pipeline. So different stages of the sales process, which could be that you've scheduled an appointment with them, first of all, to have a chat with them. And then you've qualified them as people who are probably going to be good for a customer. So you schedule a proper presentation to get a quote to them. You've then got the decision maker who's brought in their press. You've sent a contract or a quote or something like that. And then finally, whether you won the deal or whether you lost the deal. And we're going to actually have a look at that sales pipeline and how it kind of works. So you can sort of see how you can track what your money is that's going to be coming in, and also not forgetting. I've got this chronic problem of forgetting about quotes. I put them out there and then it's like, oh, let's write that quote. Whatever happened with that? They didn't accept it. So, and then I can follow up later. This sort of puts that to an end. In the sales section, that's very much, very like managing that sales process. But in service is where your clients or your customers may need help with something. Let's just say, for instance, you are only because I see Shannon on the call here, you are a meal prep service. So you've actually prepared meals for people, frozen meals, and then they want to be able to contact you with a problem with something, or they want to be able to ask you a question about upcoming menu items. So there's a service thing that allows people to go into a service portal and handles, separates out your sales contacts from your current customers' service concerns as well. We call them tickets or problem requests or trouble requests or something like that. So rather than it's people trying to inquire to buy things, these are people who are inquiring. They've already bought things and they have an inquiry about that. So you can handle those separately. And then there's an automations process. Now, I'll give you a bit of a warning. The automations, which there's certain automations, simple automations within contacts and within the sales area, which are free. But HubSpot does have paid things. So things like that full marketing automation where you're wanting to go, okay, someone comes in, they get an auto response that then 3 days later then sends them another response to invite them to download an ebook. And then after a month of no contact, then we send them another email just to say, hi, how you going? Thought we'd reach out again. That sort of stuff is available in HubSpot and is excellent. but it's part of one of their higher paid brackets. And when I say higher paid, you're talking about over $600 a month to get that particular thing in there. So I've got a version that's just a little higher than the free version. The free version will do almost everything that I'm showing you here today. I'll sort of let you know the things that it doesn't do, but the things it doesn't do are on the starter. So it's about $75 a month that I'm using. Why do I pay for all this? Well, it's actually going to save me a lot of money in other things. And I'll show you as we go along what those particular things are and how you can probably save a little bit of money by putting a lot more things into one system rather than, having Calendly over here for your calendar and lead pages for your lead ads over here and, another system to read your social media conversations. It ultimately saved me a bit of money because I had lots of different systems doing these things. So looking into each section, and we will look under the hood shortly, but for now, just let's get an idea of what HubSpot kind of does for you. In the contact section, it looks at things like your individual contacts. So each list of each email address and person associated with that, it gives you essentially a database of all your contacts with that person. Now, how these get into the system is either you can export them from another system or you can manually enter them yourself. What I've done though is connected it through to my email. So I've got 4 email addresses that are all for different parts of my business that are all connected through to HubSpot. And with that, it allows me to sync what I'm doing in, so I use Google's Workspace, or what used to be called G Suite, or Gmail for those who are using the free bit. You can do this with a free Gmail as well. You can also do it with Outlook, but it does require the web version of Outlook to work really well. So what you do is that every time an email comes in for a person, it first of all has a little panel on the right-hand side of the web version that kind of is like an overlay. And I'll show you what that looks like as we move further on. So you kind of need to see it to understand how it works. It has a panel on the side of Gmail or Outlook.com, which then allows you to assign that particular contact into HubSpot as a contact. So you can then automatically have that person added to your email list. You can add extra information about that person before it goes in to save it in the customer relationship management system of HubSpot, so that you've got lots of information about that person. Now, when you first get them in there, that's the first piece of info that's going to be in there. But what happens over time, every consequential email you have with that person also goes in and gets tracked in HubSpot as the contact you've had with them. So their answers, your back and forth with them, all goes in there, including times when they might have contacted you through a form, through a service request, or whether they're making a sales inquiry. All those mean they go into one thing. So you don't get these duplicates of lots of different pieces of information about this person all over the place. It allows you to have their initial sales requests coming in and into a record within HubSpot. And then every conversation you have on email after that is also in HubSpot. You can then associate those individual contacts to companies. So for instance, if you needed someone to then have, I guess, the ability to for you to be able to cluster people together under one company. So you can go, okay, here's all the conversations I've had with this person, but here's the conversations that I've had with everyone in that particular business. That's a really handy one because it allows you to then see the whole conversation, the whole big picture of the contact you've had with that business. And the funky little thing I've got in here now is very, very limited in the free version. In my version, I've got a bit more time in there, is the ability to make phone calls through your computer in HubSpot that will come up as being from your particular phone number. So I've got a 1-800 number that I use that's for people to call in on. But in this case, it then allows you to have the ability for you to record those calls. So as you're doing it, it records it in there so you and your team can actually hear anything that went on those calls. So if you had made an agreement to something, you've got a record of it. If they made an agreement to something, you've got a record of it. If there was like a really sort of hard thing you had to talk about with them, that's all there in the recorded call. Marie's just asked does it include Facebook and Instagram in terms of the chat stuff and like the contacts coming in from Facebook and Instagram? Absolutely, it does. So if you're having someone chatting with someone and you've connected HubSpot with your Facebook Messenger, with your Facebook page, it will come in that way. So everything comes in your inbox on Facebook. And I'm actually got to check to see if that actually is the case where it comes in via Instagram as well. But I have a feeling that with Facebook sort of unifying that inbox in the page, it should come through on both. I just haven't had a message come through in Instagram so far to be able to test that, but I'm pretty sure it does because it's all a unified inbox with Facebook and Insta these days. It's all the one thing, as long as your Facebook and Instagram are connected to each other. So the recording calls thing is pretty funky. I like that idea, but I guess where then it comes into is this website chat and the Facebook Messenger chat. And this is where the conversations I think that Marie was referring to, whether you can track those things. And you can. There's actually an inbox that will show you all the contacts that are coming in from things like website chat, your Facebook or Messenger chat, whatever it's connected up to. So at the moment, I've got my connected up to chat on my website, but I also have chat on social media through Facebook. So if I look at which ones they are in my conversations, you can't see this at the moment, but I've got it set up to look at those ones. So it allows me then to see in one place what all those conversations are. So I'm not really having to go searching for all these different places to go and find them. So in the inbox, I can add other sources in there. So you can have different chats coming in from different websites. It doesn't have to be all from just the one website. It can be from multiple websites if you have them. And if I go to add channels to that, you can't see me doing it at the moment, but I'm just saying, I will show you all this a little bit later on. I've got 3 Facebook inboxes all coming in. And if I want to connect another channel, it allows me to connect channels from either an email address, forms, or just from Facebook Messenger. So it's not specifically Instagram Messenger. It looks like it's just Facebook for now. It's certainly not LinkedIn. I'd love it to be able to go in with LinkedIn because that's where so much more of my conversations generally happen than Facebook. So you probably have this different. You're probably more through, if you're selling to consumers, your conversations are probably more likely to come in through there. But a group called Zapier, Zapier, does create a whole lot of extra integrations that you can put in. And HubSpot has its own marketplace where you can look for different apps that will plug in. So some of them are free, some of them are paid. So things like Instagram, if I look in there now and see if there's an Instagram one in there, there is an Instagram social calendar and report in there. I think that's more though to do with using HubSpot to post things to Instagram. But you can do Facebook and Instagram lead ads in there as well. So you can manage those. So integrating with Instagram, you just got to make sure that you've checked first to make sure the integration you want is in there. Most of it's around Instagram ads rather than Instagram messaging. So I don't think the API for Instagram messaging is open yet to content management systems. Then in amongst all that, you've got your Facebook Messenger chat. You can set almost like a chatbot in there. And it's same with your website chat. So you can have frequently asked questions that people can then go through a chat process to find out the basic things they need to find out. And in there, you set what is called chat flows. That's the equivalent of a chat bot. So the chat bots are not like using real language processing, natural language processing, anything like that. It's just basically question and answer, and really good for things like what time do you close, or when do I have to get my order in order to get it this weekend, and really simple answers that you can provide on a sort of a decision tree basis. And then there's also templates for use in things like your emails. They become part of your conversations as well. So how you send the emails out, and some of the things like frequently asked questions, even for email, that you would send out, like copy and paste into there, and you've got that big answer to a question that is a really like standard kind of answers that you'd have. In the marketing section, you've got the ability to run your Google, Facebook, and LinkedIn ads, which is pretty cool. I've got my Google and Facebook ads in there. Currently I've got a Facebook campaign running, not a Google one. I did, but if I did, it would show up in there as I can see my results. I can even create the ads. I can create Google ads and Facebook ads within HubSpot. Now it's got some limits, like you can't do every kind of ad. It's like carousel ads, video and that sort of ads. You can select what the different objectives are in Facebook ads as well. LinkedIn ads is much the same. This is where you also run your email newsletters. So you can set up your newsletters in here, which has got really, really good basic templates that look really, really clean and good. In the free version, your email newsletters, much like MailChimp, will have a little stamp at the bottom saying, powered by HubSpot. And the same with, I guess, when you're doing landing pages and website pages, you can build your website in HubSpot. Therefore, it's all in one place where everything that happens on that website is trackable through HubSpot itself. In the free version, you can still do these, but they are limited. In the basic $75 a month, I think I pay a little bit more than the average. I think it's about $38 a month you can get it for, is where you can still build those landing pages and website pages. But once you pay, you don't have that stamp on there showing it's powered by HubSpot. So for me, that's it's not a hugely important thing, but I guess it really, for me, it was nice to keep things consistent across the board so that my forms on my website don't look like HubSpot forms. They look like Clickstarter forms or Cellular One forms or something like that. Moving on to the sales area, this is where you set up your deals. Now, a deal is basically almost like a quote. Think of it as a quote. So someone comes to you and they say, I want to have I want to buy an 8-session personal training series. You go, okay, great. So an 8-session personal training series is going to cost you $1,600. This is the deal. You put it in the system and you say, okay, this is the deal for $1,600. So you can then monitor that. So you can have stages that start off with, say, first conversation, first lead came in, quote sent, quote accepted, and then started work, all that sort of thing. So you can have the stages moving along. And when you do move things from stages, say for instance, if you decide to move your status from a particular customer from initial inquiry through to quote sent, then what it can do is send up then a bit of an automation to move it in the system, or you can manually move it yourself. One of the other areas that sales does is tasks. Quite often where their sales are a lot more complex, like for instance, sales with me can take quite a while to go through because you've got you've got to look at the intricacies of what the customer wants for something like a website or a social media campaign or coaching services or a training program for their business. So we have to go through quite a lot of steps, and that can set tasks to do. So you've got something that allows you to do that. Now, what also allows you to do is set those tasks in templated form so that if you're building a website and all website builds are basically going through the same process, you've got a website build template that's full of tasks that you can tick off as you're going through. And those tasks become a replacement for things like Trello and Asana and any of those kind of project management systems. One little thing that's in here too is the ability to be able to do quotes. You can do quotes in HubSpot as well. They don't connect automatically through things like Xero and MyOb and QuickBooks, but you can get integrations that do. So if I look in the HubSpot marketplace and I look for Xero, I can see that Xero has a data sync between your clients that are in Xero and your clients that are also in HubSpot, so you can sync details between them. So if you know that people have paid things, you can. It's got a pricing. It's not a free one. It's like $11 a month that allows you to send up to 20 invoices and quotes and enter 5 bills and reconcile bank transactions. And you can use the HubDoc feature, which I don't use. I use Receipt Bank, but it's and you can use a lot more. Like for instance, at $32 a month on top of it, then you can do a lot more. So it depends on how heavy all that stuff is. I will be adding Xero integration to mine at some point, but it's but sending 20 invoices, I probably do send more than 20 invoices a month on quotes, but I don't have to send them all from this particular system. So upgrading to that might be something I might do. It may not be. I may not need to do it. But the quotes and the meeting booking. So if anyone's using something like You Can Book Me or Calendly, any of those sort of systems allow you to take bookings online. HubSpot has its own version of this as well. So in the meeting, it's called Meetings. So HubSpot Meetings bookings, and then allows you to have an interface that allows people to select the date. It syncs with your calendar, much the same way as Calendly and all those other systems do. And it's actually free. And you don't need to pay to actually have this particular one. Of course, it'll have the HubSpot stamp on the bottom, powered by HubSpot, all that sort of thing, if you don't pay for HubSpot, but who honestly cares? Like even Calendly, when you pay for it, still is stamped with Calendly on it. So they don't even give you the option to remove that. So it's this is a system, I guess, that can replace a lot of the things you're already doing, the things you're already paying for. Then finally, in the service area is where you handle those support requests and tickets. So when people have got problems, they've got a connection to a particular page on your website or a link on your social media that says, if you need help as a customer, click here, and they click there, and it goes into a form that they fill out to report their problem, and that goes into a list that then is notified through to you in HubSpot and then to your email as well. So you're always getting notifications of all these things popping in. Now, the automations part where you're setting sequenced emails and setting particular automated workflows, this is not available in the free or starter level account. So I don't have access to this. I'm not even using email sequences at the moment. I will be doing that in the future. But what I'll be doing, rather than paying $600 a month to get it in HubSpot, I'll be using that with an external program. So I'll use something like Active Campaign or something like Constant Contact or Aweber or whatever the situation is that I go and look for when I do need to do it. Right now, I don't have the volume of inquiries to need that kind of thing. If I had 30 of these coming through a day, yep, I think sequences and workflows would be very good. I think a lot of small businesses, particularly the coaches and the consultants of the world, really want to automate everything because they think they're going to, live that life by the beach and get their feet up and drink cocktails at 10 a.m. And, that they're basically not going to work at all because the sequences are going to handle everything and do all their nurturing for their courses, their online courses. The reality is, though, that most of us, when we set those things up, and luckily get maybe 1 or 2 inquiries a month, I would say don't go automating that because it's kind of pointless. You're paying for all these automation systems to do this, and you're not really at that point of scaling. Scale when it comes time to scale. I guess it's nice to be able to have the idea that maybe you're going to sell like a million different people into your online course. But the reality is there's so many of them out there right now. You need to work on your brand first and work on your own manual processes first before you add any kind of automations. So if you're hoping to get out there and have a lot of people automated through these processes, that's great. Just bear in mind that may be highly unnecessary. I've worked with probably about 15 different coaches of various kinds, from NLP coaches to wealth and empowerment coaches. And I can tell you now that every single one of them did not need to have automated mail sequences simply because they didn't have the volume. So they all ended up stepping in and manually handling the customer processes anyway, because ultimately the customer didn't want to be handled by a sequence. They wanted to speak to the actual coach. So once we got that underway, then they understood, oh, okay, I don't really need to do all these, over the top email sequences and 17-step sales funnels because I don't have enough people to just coming in to justify the expense and the setup. I don't hate email automation, by the way. I actually really think it's very valuable for people who have lots of inquiries coming in and they don't want to have to hire someone to organize them. So what you're going to do basically in HubSpot is you're probably going to use it to get yourself organized. You're probably going to use it to, stop things slipping through the cracks. And that's why I added it to my workflow, is that I just got sick of missing things, missing projects, missing quotes, missing opportunities, because I was relying upon email and conversations and phone calls, and it was all coming from too many different places. So now it comes in this one place. I don't miss them now. I make those calls, I send out the messages, I follow up, and I've got that organized. I don't need to have an automated process to do it, but I do need a place that has all that information in it so I can get to it. So I know what I'm potentially missing and what I'm not. The second thing you'll probably do, and you'll probably most likely use HubSpot for these things. You're probably going to use it for using it as one place for all communications. Like it's going to be this one sort of source of truth. Every conversation you have can be entered in by HubSpot. If you're out on the road, you use a HubSpot app and you can then put in those notes to that client, or you can even record it in via voice. So it's at least in there for your client notes and the documents that you've got for that client, like contracts, things that they've signed, blueprints, order requirements, any of that sort of stuff all gets stored in there. So you've got one place that has all that info. The free version will allow you to do this. There's no limit to users with this. What you find the limits are for the advanced functions. So you can get started on all this for free without it being too much of a hassle. Your newsletter subscriptions, it's a good place, I think, to handle newsletters. I think it's got one of the easiest to use newsletter builders I've ever seen. And it's just simple. It's just simple step. Like MailChimp is so over the top complicated for what it is. I don't know why anyone uses MailChimp these days, to be honest. There's about 50 better systems at it. They're all about the same price and handle the same amount of free stuff. It's just for some reason, everyone gets fixated on MailChimp. Try something different. You don't really need MailChimp. Website contact and lead forms are what you're likely to use this on. I think that's where you're going to find, the ability to find like different forms across your site. So the basic contact form, an inquiry form for a very specific product, an inquiry for a very specific service can go and be handled with the right kind of inputs to go into your database, so you know who you're talking to and why you're talking to them. I think that alone was probably the number one thing I did, was set up those forms, get them on my website, so that then instead of like a form just sending me an email, it's putting it into a system so I don't lose that email. Because if you're anything like me, man, you'll be getting like hundreds of emails every week just for all kinds of rubbish. It could be people who are wanting to sell you something. It could be spam. It could be people wanting to set meetings with you. It could be follow-ups on customers and clients. It could be new business coming through, and you don't want to be missing that stuff, because that's when you get a really bad reputation for being very flaky. So you don't want to be that person. Trust me, I've been that person before, and this is probably why I'm using Hubspot now. And you may use it for your meetings and your tasks. So I think it's a very good task management system. And I think that the booking of meetings, and I'll show you that very shortly, is excellent. I think it's an amazing little tool to be able to use. When it comes down to, I think, the most of you will use this for is things like just managing your contacts, managing all your notes about your contacts. That's probably the best thing that you'll use it for. And probably the place where I say start from there before you get too, sort of locked into the ecosystem. So what we're going to do is take a look under the hood of a real live version of HubSpot, my version of HubSpot. I've used it on and off for years, but I really made it like a really big effort in the last 3 months to really make this thing work for me. And it has definitely changed everything I'm doing. So remembering that you had the contacts, the conversations, the marketing, the sales, and the service, we'll go through each of those sections so you can see what each of those sections do and how you can access the different things in there. Automations we'll skip though, obviously, because it's not part of the free or the starter editions. So let's go. Let's have a look at what it looks like under the hood. First of all, with contacts. So I'll just have to change the screen that I'm sharing over to another screen so we can see exactly what it looks like and how it works. The desktop 3, this one. So over here, I'm inside HubSpot. So my home screen, you can set your home screen to show pretty much anything you like. I set my home screen to go straight into my conversations. So in my inbox, and the inbox is, when it refreshes in a second, there we go. The last conversations I've had on chat through my website and Messenger. So I can see those straight away that Danica wanted to talk to me about something. So I've contacted her outside of that, not through the actual website chat. We actually got in touch with each other through Facebook. And then a previous client was Wasana. She contacted me through Facebook Messenger. And that came from my website. And then we had that conversation, but she didn't see the response because she wasn't on the website long enough. So I then reached out to her manually because I knew where she was. So quite often it's the actual clients I've already got will try and reach out to me through contact chat on the website. So it's actually been a really good way of making sure I don't make it hard for people. I remember someone saying that always make it easy for clients to contact you. Otherwise I'll go with someone else who's easy to contact. So I make sure that it's really super easy. And once I've finished with these, for instance, in Danica, I've now completed that task. I can mark it as closed and it goes away from here. So it now drops out of the list and now I'll go to the next one. With Wasana, have I finished that? Yeah, I have. I actually carried through exactly what she was talking about, so I can close that one off as well. I don't tend to trash them. I tend to just close them. Another thing we can do in here, say for instance, from the conversation with Wasana, if I'm seeing it's a problem that she wants to follow up on, I can create a trouble ticket over here or a report. So I can say for Wasana, she wanted to facilitate the handover of website. So handover website to new owner because they sold the business. So I can say ticket status is new. Yep. The description is need to transfer ownership to new owner. And I set myself as the owner of that. I can see where it came from. Set a priority. It was pretty high at the time because the guy was really wanting to get underway, and it was created back on, let's just say, September 2. So once I create that, that now will go into my list of things I need to follow up later on. So that's now done. That's a thing that now shows up in my service up here. And if I go to my tickets, I'll see that there's now a ticket in there for Wasana. Here we go, coming up, refreshing. There it is. So hand over the website for the new owner. So I've actually, if I was working with this naturally, I'd then pick it up, open it, and then update that with the whatever steps I want to update it in. So mine's a bit slow because I'm trying to do too much on my internet connection at once. So I can see what I've done. I've seen it created. I can leave a note for this. So the first thing I can do is leave it's got the record of the live chat attached to it. And I've got then the details of the conversation I've had. So what I can do now is say, well, I've already done this. So I create a note to say, this has now been completed. Can't spell. I can save that note. And then I can also then do something with this. I can then say, okay, what am I going to do with this? I'm going to log a call, an email. Is it a task I need to fill out? Do I need to set a meeting? Well, not really any of those things. I kind of just need to close this thing off. So I'm going to take the actions here and I can delete it, but otherwise I just want to just make sure I got it done. So go to the tickets. I can just drag it across now from where it is to where I want it to be. So I've got hand over new website. I've actually completed that. That can go close. So I'm not seeing this in my queue of new stuff coming in. I like those little things that they're waiting. I'm waiting on contact from them, or they're waiting on us. So that means I can see these are the things we're meant to be following up on. And these are the things we're waiting for them to follow up on. So that's just how it integrates between, say, a conversation coming in from your website or from Facebook, and then you create a job based upon that. Or you can also create a sale. You don't have to create a ticket. You can actually create a sale out of that and turn them into a contact and a lead. And that sort of brings us, I guess, to the next bit of the contacts. In contacts up here, you can see you've got your list of contacts. That's going to bring up my entire list of everybody who's on there. Here we go. So I've got all my lists in there. I can then also look at the companies that they're split into. So not everyone's going to have their company in there because I don't enter companies for everybody. So I mostly deal with people on a one-to-one. So I don't actually have any companies listed in there just now. I can also look at the calls. Now, calls are phone calls that I've made through this system. So I don't have any recorded calls that I've saved here, but I can add a new call and start like a new call through there. Also within the contact, let's just say I'll go in and look at any second now. So I'll pull out, say, Dinia at Business Station. The Dinia at Business Station is not a lead. She's actually a colleague. So I'm not going to treat her like a sale. But if I wanted to make a call, I'd call over here, and she doesn't have a phone number associated with it. So I'd need to find what her phone number and add it. Otherwise, that would say, now call this client, call this contact. And I'd do the call through Hubspot, and it'd be recorded in here if I needed to record it. Same thing, I can send an email to Dinia from here. So it's connected through to my Gmail. So it's going to pick up my mail signature if I need to put it in. At the moment, though, it's going to go through my Gmail account, danteclickstarter.com.au. So it's the same thing. You can set up, you can put in your subject, put in everything you want, insert files, insert photos, and then it's got an association there. I'm associating with her. I can also associate it with another record if I want to, so that it's not CCing it to a person. So I'm only sending it to Dinia, but I want to associate it with someone else at Business Station. Let's just say, for instance, Agatha. So Agatha is the other person I'm going to associate it with. It's not going to send it to Agatha. What it's going to do is put a record in Agatha's client record in my database to show that this had something to do with Agatha, even though I'm not sending the email to her. So it's kind of a way for you to know that it's about those two people without you actually having to send it to that second person. And then there's a whole bunch of documents you might have that are connected through there. Any meetings, so you might want to schedule a meeting with that person. So what you do is like they can click on that link, and that will take them. So you can say, for instance, at the beginning of the email. Wait a second, back up here. Book a meeting with me. And then it's got that link. And you can set it up for specific kinds of meetings with availabilities. So if I click on that link, it'll actually take me through to this here. It's got that address there. So I'll show you what that address looks like up in another window. So as you see, I'm jumping around a lot because everything's integrated enough to jump around for. And there you go. There's my booking. So we can say that I've got availability for a half an hour meeting at 4 p.m. On Monday the 20th. On the 22nd, I've got 2:30. And then I go, okay, what do I need to put in? The name and the email address. And they confirm that. And that is based upon the availability showing in my Google Calendar, which is an absolute hot mess. So let's look at next week. So there's my Google Calendar all set up. So it's saying, okay, it's syncing in with the fact that there's some availability at 2:15 on Wednesday. So if I look at 2:15 on Wednesday in my Google Calendar, so it's around about in there, in that gap there, I definitely do have time. So it's syncing in with that. So if someone books in that, I can. Now, I can also set that a gap for that. So I say, I don't take bookings for anything less than 24 hours out. So otherwise it gets too confusing. So to answer Shannon's question, you just set it so that people can't book you for anything that's last minute. So you can put like it's at least 2 hours or 8 hours buffer for people to be able to do that. I don't actually use this booking system yet. It's going to be what I'm going to be using eventually. I use Calendly for now. But now that I've got HubSpot in place, it's where I'm going to be using this now. So that's all the email sort of stuff you can do. So like you've got the formatting, you do all that sort of thing. You can also have, because I tend to add people to my list. This could be like, I can put to stop receiving these emails, they can actually unsubscribe from me. But at the moment, I don't want that because this is just a general contact email, not a sales email. So it does have all that Spam Act compliant stuff where you can insert that kind of message at the end. I can also look at previous quotes that I've had in the system. So if you've got quotes for this particular person, you can then reinsert the quote directly from here. So you've got tons of little things that make life so much easier. The templates are things like, reasons why you haven't, you create whatever templates you want that are based upon the kind of contact you're having. So you don't have to type and retype all the time. You've got certain things you can pull in all the time. They're there. And if I send this out to them, I can send myself a task to follow up. And that task to follow up is something like in 3 business days, which will be on Wednesday next week, to follow up on this email that I sent to her. Now, this would be something I'll do, especially if, now I've got the HubSpot app on my phone, and the HubSpot app on my phone tells me when people have opened up my emails. And it's really, really handy, especially for when you've sent someone a quote and it will show you that they've opened your quote, even if it's straight away, or if it's even 3 months later. What that does is tell me, okay, Kylie opened up a quote after 3 months. So I can go, Kylie's looking at my stuff after 3 months. How about I either give her a call and say, hey, Kylie, just seeing how you're going. I hadn't heard from you a while. And she's like, oh, wow, I was just actually thinking about that, about the quote. And I went to look for it to see if maybe that was still valid. And then you can restart a conversation with someone that's probably been dead for months, if you like, because you're being told when someone's opening that, because there's a little bit of code inside every one of these emails and quotes that go out that actually allows you to track the openings of those emails and whether they're being read, which is really handy for that great grand excuse we usually get is, oh, I don't think I got the email. And you're like, yeah, right. I saw you open it yesterday, you mongrel. So you've got the ability to be able to track those kind of things. That for me has been a godsend, but I don't always use this as my email. I usually use my email in here. So I go into actual Gmail. So for instance, what you're seeing over here, if I get rid of that little one and I open up my HubSpot stuff, My last conversation was with Simon. So with Simon, I can see his record in the CRM, so in HubSpot, and it goes straight into my conversations that I've had with Simon. I won't, for privacy reasons, go too deep into what those conversations were, but that's got every single email interaction that I've got, and showing me that when he's opened things. So you can see that he's actually keeps going back to my email a lot. So 13th of September, he went back 4 times to that, 5 times to that, 6 times to that. So on the 13th, he was actually really actively looking to follow up on that. So what I could have done is reached out to him that day and said, "Hey, Simon, just seeing how you're going. Was there anything you needed some clarification by?" And he would go, "Oh yeah, actually, yeah, I was actually looking to get some." So you've actually preemptively doing customer service that you don't necessarily have to. You're not betraying privacy or anything like that, for instance. Now, I'm just going to wipe out a few of these different, largely spam emails, I think. So we've got someone over here, which is, I won't do that one either because it's very private. But for instance, if I bring up one that's not so private with my friend Britt. You know, my friend Britt. I think Shannon on this call knows my friend Britt. So in this one here, she's telling me about a particular Instagram extension. So I can actually then go, okay, if I reply to this, it's going to let me track her replies to this. So I can put all the information in there and have a quick reference on the right here of any sort of things I'm doing with her that are sort of deals are in. So we're not working on any projects at the moment. Tasks, I can add tasks that are associated with her. So I'm actually going to add one in here, which is going to be due on Sunday, which is Sunday, that one. 17th, 12th, 19th, that's right. And I'm going to put a task in there, which is to install new Instagram plugin to MB website, which is a project, not a project, but it's an old project we used to work on with something that's broken. So I set that as a task now, and that's going to go into my record with Brit in this system. So I can add, it's a really good way of prompting yourself as you're going through your emails. Oh, quick, add myself a task, or add myself a problem ticket, or add more details about the company. I've got that in there. She's down in Sydney, even though she lives not in Sydney. And then I can look at, more about her. So I can see her phone number, her email address. And if I'm treating her as a lead, which I'm not, I can treat her as like a different level of life cycle as someone who's dealing with me potentially to buy stuff from me. And then lead status, yeah, there you go. Open in progress, attempted to contact. So the status is that it's in progress. So once that's all there, I can save it, and I'm not actually having to go into HubSpot to do it. It's syncing with HubSpot straight away. You see all the other people that I'm connected to there in HubSpot. So that then gives me a place where while I'm reading things over here, I'm immediately syncing it up with things over here in HubSpot itself. So I'm not having to worry too greatly about there being, massive losses of conversation and data and details that I want to work with. So that for me, that ability to plug in here, and most CRMs or customer relationship management systems do that, but they don't necessarily all do it well. So back into HubSpot, we looked at our contacts, the conversations. So we saw the inbox. I can set up what we call chat flows in here. So in these chat flows, you're going to see 3 different areas. You're going to see a chat flow that I've set up for live chat from my website. And then there's the ones for Facebook Messenger as well. So this allows me to set what I want to have happen when people contact me through my website. So right now I've got here, we're live here from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Just let us know if we can assist you. So that's the flow. I've got a welcome message. If I had a knowledge base, so people are asking questions that have simple answers, I can have a knowledge base in here where I can add in articles that people can refer to if they need help with something. I don't need to be that sophisticated at the moment, but what I do want to do is assign those conversations to me. So make sure that every new conversation will be assigned to me rather than my virtual assistant, because at the moment she's not handling client contact, she's handling other automated processes for me. And I can also, in that, ask people after a minute, if I've not responded to that chat after a minute, I can go, hey, sorry, our team's in the middle of working on something. Feel free to leave your email and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So that way I'm getting the email into my system so that I can get back to them later on. And this is all within the one that's on my website. Then I can look at when I can show chat at certain pages on my website, depending upon the actions people are taking. So for instance, if I have someone going to, let's just say, on a page that contains social media in the title, then I'm going to add a rule that says to do certain things. So in this case, I want them to have the chat pop up and have it show only for them. Or I can say there's only a home page it shows on, or only another page. You can control where that really goes. The display is in a bunch of options where you can like choose your little chat avatar. So at the moment I've got my old logo, so I do need to change that over to the new one. There we go. It's not quite how I want it to show, but it's close. And then I can use that custom branding throughout the conversation, so it's always coming up. And then the chat display behavior lets me do certain things on desktop and mobile to go, okay, pop up to welcome people as they come into the site, or only show the chat launcher. So it shows down here, just as like this little bubble. The people then will be only seeing that. And then I can make it show that welcome message, then pop open the whole widget when the trigger is met. So in other words, when one of those rules that I've set in the target happens, that's when it can happen. I can also do the exit intent. So that's when you're going to leave websites. You can pop and say, hey, before you go, is there anything you'd like to ask? That kind of thing, and have it sit on the page for 5 seconds or something. Or even set it so that when someone scrolled, 75% of the way down your page, pop open the chat window to say, hey, I'd love to have a chat to you if you want more information. And then finally with the options is then it's like setting your languages, and then you can, set GDPR stuff to do with Europe, where you can consent to collect, tracking information, all that sort of thing. And also then consent to communicate, which is putting them into a sales one-to-one, into like a list for you to send your newsletters to. So there's tons and tons of like little things you can do to customize. Let's not go too deeply in that because we are running out of time. In the marketing area, I'm running in here my Google and Facebook ads. So I can see, and you're going to see some of my ads that I'm running at the moment. So for instance, some different things I run in Google. Over here is Google. So I've run ads for a social media trainer. I've run ads for MBN that I'm selling in Darwin, social media training, the business growth program in Darwin in the Northern Territory. This is a current one I'm running, which is my top of funnel ad campaign I'm running across certain markets across Australia in Facebook. So I can go in there, I can briefly see, I've had 2,551 impressions, 22 clicks. So it's doing all right. I've only spent $70 and I've already had 3 leads out of it. One of them has turned into a $5,000 job. So not bad for spending $71, eh? I can go into this and see a lot more of it and analyze what's going on with it. So I can see the different markets that I've broken it down to. So those are the 4 markets I've targeted in my ad sets. So it's showing me all the information I've got. My best place of getting stuff from is North Queensland at the moment. So I'm getting really, really good action for North Queensland, even though the Northern Territory is getting a lot more of my clicks and my impressions. I'm not getting that much in Western Australia, but funnily enough, one of those clicks was what led to a sale. So the one sale that I actually really made. So it's actually been a very successful one for me. So it then breaks down in my ad sets the way I want to break down. Then I can look at, just certain parts of it, or I can look at all the impressions I'm getting across everything and see how I'm going with all my ad campaigns all at the same time. So it's just a nice little tie-in with the ads that I'm running on other platforms. So I've got one place to look at it to see how I'm going. I can also build my audiences. So my audiences, I want to build, audiences that interact with the audiences in Google and Facebook. So I build those based upon information in my system rather than information in their systems. So when I've got a lot more data in there, this is something I may want to do. But I can manage my ad campaigns. I can even create a new ad campaign from him and go, I want an engagement ad or a lead generation ad or a search ad on Google. I can actually say what I want to run. If I want to run on LinkedIn, I don't have LinkedIn set at the moment. I've only got Facebook and Google. So I want a search ad. I can run a search ad on Google's actual ads platform, but from this interface. I don't have to go into Google's horrible system. I can avoid Facebook's horrible system as well and just run it all from here. So I want to do a website visit ad. I want people to visit my website. Yes, it's on Facebook. Let's create it. Let's see what we're going to do. And it takes me through, gives me the little thing over here. I can then say what ad account it's for. So that one, what page it's referring to is Clickstarter. Create a new campaign or select from the existing campaigns I'm already running. So it brings in all the information across from my Facebook account, and they can either land on a special page on HubSpot, or I can make them land on a page that I have on my website out there in the real world. Then just add the video or the image you want to have, your text body copy, the headline at the bottom, what you want your call to action to be. See, like all these ones. And it gives you that nice little thing on there. And then I can look at what my targeting is, which is the ad set. So say, okay, send it to people who are in Brisbane. There you go, Brisbane, Queensland, and age range. So it's giving my estimated target audience size like it does with a little meter on Facebook. It's pretty good, eh? That you're able to actually do all this from just this one system. And you can do that. In my case, this one's from, part of the paid thing. You can't do this as part of the freed one, but it's part of my what's called the starter edition. Once I go into the marketing, I'm looking then email. So I can run my email marketing campaigns from here, which is basically my newsletter. So in my newsletters in here, I can see that I've run newsletters before, and I've got an open rate in here. On Monday, August 16, I had an open rate of 57.38%. Now that looks really good and really awesome. It's just that I didn't actually have that many, but there's only about 125 on the list. So that's still good. More than half of 125 people opened my email. So what email was it? Let's go in and have a look. And you'll be able to see where I built it. So I can see my open rate, my click-through rate, my reply rate, and I can then see what the actual email looked like. So in this case, it was a bit of information about Facebook myths, a link to one of my videos, and then you can register for another one of the classes I was about to do. Then I've done another article that's got a little bit of stuff that's on my website, and then being able to book in for when I was in Perth and Adelaide recently, as well as a couple of ads at the bottom for my MBN and mobile products that I'm selling. So there you go. So that allows you then to set up a really attractive looking email that's in a templated version. If I want to do that again, I can select another one, set up another template, and then go back to my emails and start a new one. So usually I do those on Monday, but September I've been a bit slack. So I'll be doing that again this coming Monday morning. I'll have a newsletter going out. So it's a good idea if you get on there, if you want my newsletter with all my cool information, please go and subscribe at my website. It's at the bottom of every page practically. Once I got that marketing of the emails, I can set up landing pages. I'm not going to go into the landing page in Website Builder yet, but they just allow you, I guess, to much more tightly integrate everything that's happening in HubSpot with your outgoing emails and your campaigns and Google and Facebook linking to them. So you can track all that stuff in the one place. So it does allow you, I guess, to do a lot more than just simply create these campaigns going off to your website. You've got that tight integration with your website or landing page that you've actually built on here. In the sales area, we can look at what the deals are. So the deals is really good. Deals just shows me what I've got on the fly at the moment. Now, bear in mind, I've got about 16 deals on the run at the moment. I've only got 3 of them that have been entered in here so far, because that's what my virtual assistant's doing today, is going to be entering those in when she starts working very shortly. So I've got a few in here I can look at. Say, for instance, I've got the Crocosaurus Cove landing page and CEO thing. So they've been sent the quote. So I'm just waiting on a response to that. And it's got the details in there of who it was that I'm talking to. And, I can call her, I can email her, all those things from that if I wanted to follow up on it. It also shows me the amount that's going on. And if I go back to that previous page with all the deals, I can then also see that all the deals I've got in the running at the moment that are either, done, closed, new, they're in the presentation stage. It gives me a total down the bottom showing me of how much I've got in the pipeline. So it doesn't show, it's pretty bleak at the moment because it hasn't all been entered in. So it looks, trust me, it looks a lot better on my usual spreadsheet I use, but my VA is actually still entering that information in. So I go, there's the 770 thing that I lost there, but I picked up a $5,000 job there, picking up another $1,800 job there, and there's more of those coming in. So as each of these inquiries come in, I put them into appointment schedule before we have the meeting with them. Once I've had my initial meeting with them, I go, yep, no worries. That's I've got an idea of what it is. I can put a price in there, and then we put in, okay, the presentation scheduled is, I can set these stages my own way. They don't have to sit in those order. I can set my own ones. which I'm probably going to do because some of these presentation scheduled, decision maker brought in, they're not really part of my workflow and my way of doing sales. So under those sales things, we then got tasks that you can set. Now, I actually set a task before. We saw that one for Wasana, and then we completed it. So in this task area, here's the different tasks I'm setting and when they were set and when they were due, those sort of things. So this has actually been done. So I can close this one off because it's actually been completed. So I've marked that off, all done. This story brand one is being done tomorrow. So I can edit that up and actually set a to-do date. Oh, sorry, not from tomorrow, Monday. So the due date's actually now going to be Monday the 20th. I can put it at 5 p.m. because it's quite late in the day that we're doing it. 5 p.m. There we go. I can set myself a reminder. Let's see, 1 hour before. And that'll pop up my screen and say, hey, you got to do this. And it'll send me an email to remind me of it. And that same thing where I had to install that Instagram thing, I'm going to set myself a reminder for that one too, because that one I really do need to finish on Sunday. So I'll set myself a reminder on Sunday afternoon for that. When it comes up, here we go. No, I clicked the wrong thing. What I was doing is the edit, sorry. It's a little bit slow to load. This is not usually HubSpot. This is my internet connection playing up, sorry. There we go, this one, edit. That's the one I wanted. And set myself a task reminder 1 hour before. And the due date will be on Sunday at, it's going to be about 12 p.m. There we go. So I've sent myself all those reminders. That's all going to get there. It's also told me that in this person, we've exchanged 48 emails. So we're constantly in touch over lots of things. So it's actually given me a little bit of insights there on this particular person that I've actually had a lot of contact with them. Finally, we'll look at under your, the meetings. So you can set up your meetings like you do with Calendly. We're running a little bit over time. I'm sorry for this. It's just so much in HubSpot you need to go through. So it takes a while to get through all these different things. So you've got an idea of, I guess, of what I'm using and what then others would use. And what I'm going to use in the future is some of these things like this meeting thing. I'm going to create a scheduling page like I would do in Calendly, and say what I want my availability. So for one group or round robin meetings. So round robin means that, it could be a group of you that take those consultations, and then this just automatically puts one to one person, one to the next person, one to the next person. For me, it's usually one-to-one calls. So you're going to book a 20-minute consultation. So I call it 15-minute initial consultation. And I can call it 15-minute initial consultation. Doesn't have to be a location. I can connect Zoom or Teams or any of those things to it as well. So once I set that up, I then got it automatically connected to my calendar, and I can use that link to insert into my emails, or I can embed it into my website as well as embed code that goes in there too. So it all works out really well, sends reminder emails, all that sort of stuff. It's a great little system. Most of this stuff is available for you for free. Some of it is not. Some of it is going to require one of the paid versions of it. But overall, if you want to give this a bit of a crack, it's one of those systems where please don't overwhelm yourself. Don't make yourself get too caught up in it as a thing that you have to conquer straight away and do everything straight away. What you're going to do is just do one thing at a time. Get your contacts in, manage your contacts in there. Then maybe put your calendar in there. Then maybe start to create deals in there so you can track all your different types of workflow you're going to do. But overall, don't overwhelm yourself by doing too much too fast. Too many people, they end up hating systems like this because they go too hard too fast. But if you'd like to go a bit deeper, for $44, it's a pretty low amount of money, you can access through the Digital Solutions Program 3 hours of one-to-one advisory guidance, 4 hours of webinars and workshops, free access to all the webinars and workshops afterwards. Really good deal. Just sign up at businessstation.com.au. If you'd like to work with me with that particular thing, it doesn't have to be HubSpot. It can be anything at all, or any of our advisors. Just make sure you request the person you want to work with initially. Otherwise, I'll just put it to the next available. So if you request, you really want to work with me, and I'd love to work with you, well then please request my name specifically, Dante St. James. so that then you have that allocated to me. There's a certain allocation I get every month, but that's okay. That's fine. If I'm all out, it goes to a very capable person as well, and they can then refer you on the second hour of guidance to me if you really want to. So thank you so much for joining me this morning and into the afternoon in sun. I think we just hit midday in Queensland. So thank you. You can contact me if you'd like through my email address on screen. Just follow me on LinkedIn, actually. LinkedIn is probably the easiest place to deal with me. I work for Facebook, but honestly, I do most of my business on LinkedIn because that's where other businesses happen to be. I hope you've enjoyed this. I really do hope that you'll do more of these webinars, and even more so, I hope to see you in the next one of mine. Thank you and have a great weekend.